All right, get ready, because today we're going deep into Git and GitHub.
Yeah,
They're everywhere in software development these days.
absolutely.
And we've got a ton of resources to help us really understand them. Documentation,
Uh-huh.
a book recommendation,
Okay.
even some videos from Fireship's YouTube channel.
It's going to be a deep dive.
That's
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
people are always talking about Git,
Right.
but what is it really doing?
So Git is like a time machine for your code.
A time machine.
Every time you reach like a milestone,
Okay.
you take a snapshot of your project.
Whoa. Okay.
It's called a commit.
So what you're saying is, like,
Yeah.
if I mess something up,
Uh-huh.
I can go back to an older version?
Exactly. You can rewind. Yeah.
Wow. That's
That's
no
brilliant.
pressure. That takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, and this Git documentation we have
Okay.
really stresses making those commits often.
Right.
It's like leaving breadcrumbs,
Got it.
so you can find your way back.
Makes sense.
But it also shows you how your project changed over time.
So it's like a history book for your code.
That's a great way to put it,
Okay, so...
especially when you're collaborating.
Oh, right.
But before we get to collaboration,
Yeah.
there are some key concepts,
Okay.
like repositories.
Repositories. I've heard of those.
You have.
But I'll be honest, they sound kind of scary.
No, don't
Uh-huh.
worry. It's actually pretty simple.
Okay.
Just think of it as a folder
Uh-huh.
where all your project files live.
Okay.
That's where Git works its magic.
Oh.
Tracking all the changes.
Right. Commits.
Yeah.
Those snapshots we talked about.
Yes.
They're all saved in a repository.
Exactly. And this is where things get interesting
Oh.
with branching.
Okay.
Imagine you have a new idea for a feature,
Okay.
but you're not sure if it'll work.
Right.
Instead of messing with your main project,
Yeah.
you create a branch,
Okay.
a safe space to experiment
Interesting.
without affecting your main code.
So it's like a playground for my code.
Yeah, a great analogy.
Okay, I like that.
And once you've perfected your feature,
Yeah.
you merge it back into the main project.
Seamlessly.
Yes.
I could see how that would be super useful.
Right.
Especially on big projects.
Definitely.
Fireship actually had this cool visual
Oh, yeah.
comparing branching to making a detour on a road trip.
That's a good way to visualize it.
Yeah. Sometimes when you merge branches,
Uh-huh.
you get something called a merge conflict.
Yes, sometimes
What is that?
it's when changes on different branches clash
Oh, no.
and Git doesn't know which version to keep.
Like two people editing the same document at the same time.
Exactly. Someone has to decide what stays and what goes.
So we have to be the referee.
You got it.
That sounds a little scary.
Well, don't worry. There are tools to help you.
Oh, good.
And with practice, they get easier to handle.
So practice makes perfect.
That's right. Fireship actually showed how to use Visual Studio Code to visually compare changes and make decisions.
That sounds reassuring.
It is.
Like learning any new skill, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Takes a bit of practice.
Yeah.
Oh, Fireship also mentioned something called squashing commits.
Oh, yeah, squash
What's
it.
that about?
Imagine you've made a bunch of small commits, like fixing typos and stuff.
Okay.
Squashing lets you combine them into one commit
Okay.
before merging.
It's like tidying up the history.
Exactly, for a cleaner history.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, we can't talk about Git without GitHub,
Sure.
but I always get them confused.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Can you explain the difference?
Sure.
Okay.
So Git is the version control system,
Uh-huh.
and GitHub is like a platform built on top of it
A platform.
for hosting your code online
Okay.
and collaborating with others.
So GitHub is where the teamwork happens.
That's right. You can push your changes to GitHub.
Push.
Yeah, and pull changes from others
Oh,
to keep everyone's code in sync.
so it's like a constant back and forth.
Exactly, like a conversation between your computer and GitHub.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
remember Fireship talked about forking.
Oh, yes, forking
It
it.
sounded like branching, but on a bigger scale.
That's a great observation.
Is it?
It lets you copy someone else's entire repository.
Wow, the whole thing.
Yes. To experiment with
Okay.
or contribute to open source projects.
So like taking inspiration from a piece of art
Uh-huh.
and creating your own version.
Exactly. And once you've made your changes,
Yeah.
you can propose them back to the original project
Okay.
using a pull request.
Like saying, hey, I made some improvements. What do you think?
That's a great way to put it. And this whole process
Yeah.
is super important in open source development.
I see. So Git and GitHub aren't just for my own projects,
Right.
but for connecting with other developers.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface.
Wow, there's so much to learn.
There is.
Okay, let's pause here for a second.
Yeah. Take a breath.
We've covered a lot,
We have.
from Git as a time machine to the power of GitHub for teamwork.
It's a lot to take in. But
Yeah.
once it clicks, it's really cool.
I'm already feeling more confident.
It's great.
Stick around for part 2 where we'll go even deeper.
It's going to be awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
I'm already feeling more comfortable with Git and GitHub.
That's awesome.
But I know we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn, right?
That's true. That's what keeps it interesting.
Exactly. There's always something new.
So in the last part,
Yeah.
we talked about merging branches
Right.
and those merge conflicts.
Uh-huh.
Is there a way to, like, minimize those
Oh, that's a great question.
or even avoid them?
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
It comes down to communication.
Communication.
If you're working on a team, right,
Yeah.
you got to talk to each other
That's
about
okay.
who's working on what and stay in sync with the main branch.
So it's not just about the technical stuff,
No, I don't.
but also about working together.
Exactly. Git is a tool,
Right.
but it's the people who make it work.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The Git tutorial website mentioned different merge strategies.
Oh, yes, there are a few.
Is there a best one?
It depends, really,
I'm not-
on the situation, you know?
Okay.
Sometimes you want linear history.
Uh,
Sometimes you need to see the individual branches.
so it's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And as you get more experience,
Yeah.
you'll get a feel for what works best.
The Pro Git book goes into detail about that, right?
It does. It has a whole chapter on branching strategy.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's worth a read.
So let's talk about keeping our code in sync with GitHub.
Okay, sync.
Yeah, touched on pushing and pulling changes.
Right.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. So it's like a two-way conversation
Yeah.
between your computer and GitHub. When you push,
Yeah.
you're sending your changes to GitHub
Okay.
for others to see.
And when you pull,
You're getting their changes.
to stay updated.
Exactly.
What if I forget to pull before pushing?
Oh, that can cause problems.
Like what?
Conflicts, you know.
Oh, right. Those merge conflicts.
Yeah, it's best to always pull first.
To make sure we're all on the same page.
Exactly.
Now, I know there are all those Git commands.
There are a lot.
Do I need to memorize them all?
Not really.
Okay.
Just the basics.
Uh.
And there are cheat sheets.
Cheat sheets.
Yeah, for quick reference.
The Git documentation mentioned a couple.
Oh, did?
The GitHub cheat sheet and the visual Git cheat sheet.
Those are good ones.
They are.
They show you the commands and workflows.
Like a map of Git.
Yeah, good way to think about it.
And the Git tutorial said learning the command line is important.
It is. It gives you a deeper understanding.
But for now, I'm happy with cheat sheets.
That's fine. You'll get there.
Okay, back to GitHub.
Okay, GitHub.
We talked about pushing and pulling, but what about actual discussions and teamwork?
Well, GitHub has this great feature,
What is it?
issue tracking.
Issue track.
It's like a central hub
For what?
for discussing tasks, bugs, features, anything really.
So like a virtual whiteboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone can see what needs to be done.
And who's doing it?
And it integrates with other GitHub features.
Yes, like pull requests.
Oh, right, those requests to merge changes.
Exactly. So let's say you're working on a feature.
Okay.
You can link your pull request to an issue.
To keep everything connected.
That's right. It keeps the conversation organized.
Makes sense.
And then there are code reviews.
Code reviews.
Yeah, where you can give feedback on each other's code.
Oh, so we can critique each other's work.
It's not about criticism.
It's enough.
It's about improving the code
Oh, okay.
and learning from each other.
Like a virtual coding buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Fireship talked about how important code reviews are in open source
They are crucial.
because anyone can contribute.
That's right.
And GitHub makes it easy to manage those contributions.
It does. It's a very efficient process.
I'm starting to see how Git and GitHub are about more than just code.
It's about a culture of collaboration.
Yeah, and continuous improvement.
Exactly. And we're just getting started.
Oh, there's more.
Are you ready for some advanced Git concepts?
Bring it on. All right, welcome back to our Git and GitHub deep dive.
The final part.
We've covered a lot already.
We have the fundamentals.
But now I'm ready for the advanced stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
So I saw something about Git stash in the documentation.
Oh, yeah. Git stash.
What is that?
It's a lifesaver, really.
Oh.
Let's say you're working on something complex
Ah.
and you suddenly need to fix a bug on another branch.
Okay, yeah, I've been there.
You don't want to commit your unfinished work,
No, definitely not.
but you also don't want to lose it.
Exactly.
That's where Git stash comes in.
So it's like
It saves your changes temporarily.
without committing.
Exactly. It gives you a clean slate.
Okay, so I can switch branches without losing anything
That's right.
and then apply those changes back later.
Exactly. When you're ready.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It's super handy.
The Git tutorial for dummies video talked about keeping branches in sync.
Oh, yeah. Syncing is important.
Can you remind me why?
It's all about avoiding those merge conflicts.
Right, those are scary.
If your branch is behind, You're working on an old version,
Okay.
and then when you merge, bam, conflicts.
So always fetch the latest changes first,
Exactly. Merge them into your local branch.
like making sure we have the same map.
That's a good analogy.
The documentation mentioned git reset.
Get a reset, yeah.
That sounds powerful.
It is, but be careful with it.
Oh, why?
It lets you rewrite history.
Rewrite history.
You can move the head pointer,
Okay.
change the commit history.
When would you use that?
Maybe you made a mistake in a commit,
Ah.
or you want to clean up your history.
So like editing the story of your project.
That's one way to think about it.
But you have to be careful.
Definitely you could lose work.
Okay, double check before using it.
Always a good idea.
Speaking of resources,
Yeah, we've mentioned a few.
where should we go to really master Git and GitHub?
Well, for a deep dive,
Uh-huh.
the Pro Git book is the Bible,
It covers everything.
pretty much.
And for quick reference,
Those cheat sheets are great.
right, the GitHub and visual Git ones,
They give you a visual overview.
easy to understand.
And the Git tutorial website,
Yeah,
it's platform agnostic.
so it works for GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The core concepts are the same.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So any final words of wisdom?
Don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Make mistakes, learn from them.
Git is a tool. It takes practice.
That's right.
And there's a whole community out
A
there
huge community.
to help and support you.
Don't be shy. Ask questions.
Share your experiences.
Exactly. Learn from each other.
Well, I think that's it for our deep dive.
We made it.
Thanks for joining us.
It was fun.
Happy coding, everyone.
See you next time.